Black Panther was one of the fastest movies to hit $1 billion, and it's insane. The movie is just like, it's fire, it's lit, it's on fleek, as the children would say. And it's also a good movie. I really enjoyed Black Panther. So I'm kind of surprised to see the headline of this article here. $1 billion blockbuster Black Panther reportedly too black for Chinese moviegoers. I guess I can see that, sure. I've also heard too boring to Chinese moviegoers, which, given, I guess you could say, the lack of action in the movie being one of the one of the reasons why the first negative review was a negative review, could be a reason. Now, it says here that Black Panther opened up in China this past weekend and had a very strong showing. The record-breaking film hauled in $63 million, which helped the film pass the $1 billion mark, putting it in some very elite company. The movie definitely did bring moviegoers out of China, but it didn't get the rave reviews it enjoyed here in the States. Well, not everything is going to get the same reviews everywhere. Different cultures interpret different things differently, and China is known for very much cutting things short. Right? Iron Man 3, for example, had extra scenes shot specifically for China because they took Chinese investment money into the film. Alien Covenant had, well, quite a bit of the xenomorph cut out of the movie because of China's no ghost, or we're kind of a cult paranormal situation. They're rules. They're dumb rules in that regard. Hell, 2016's Ghostbusters was completely banned in China. I think we all can agree that China was better off. Those lucky bastards. Anyway, one of the main complaints was that the movie was just too black or too dark for some Chinese viewers. Blinks in Wakandian, they also seem to hone in on Lion King equivalences quite a bit. On the Chinese equivalent to IMDB called Douban, Black Panther is holding a very modest 6.8 out of 10 rating. Half of science fiction and action movies on the site have been rated higher by users. In the reviews, which have been translated, some of the Chinese views accuse the film of trying too hard to be politically correct. One viewer even said maybe the Chinese are still not used to seeing a film full of black people, and claimed he had to pinch himself to stay awake because blackness made him drowsy. What? What? Blackness made him drowsy? What kind? How is that? I saw the movie in IMAX and it was fine. You know, there might have been people on the screen with a higher melanin count than I had, but it wasn't enough to put me to sleep. I don't quite understand. There were freaking battle rhinos in the movie. That was cool, man. Now, some of the reviews say this. The villain has its own skills, intense phobia attacks. This can be said to be a black movie with no black soul because there is no sense of rhythm. The race setting is a bit reminiscent of mystical race Nox, where dragons and the interplanetary stare are not seen. Ending egg. Jesus is in the winter. The front seems to say after that the Oscars in the water. Someone asked Nolan what the Oscars will be next year, and Nolan said that the next time the Oscars will probably be Panthers. It just feels a bit dark. Okay, so this is obviously translated from Chinese into English, and yeah. Okay, so what he says here is that the movie, it's a black movie, but it had no black soul. It had no black rhythm. Essentially trying to say his person's mind, it's kind of a racist thing to say to an extent. However, I'm not too sure if they meant it comes across as kind of racist in the translation. I'm wondering if they were like, you know, it's got no rhythm, it's got no soul, and that's what they see in terms of pop culture in regards to black people, and that's what's throwing them off here. That might be a thing. That's I would argue probably like, you know, Occam's razor, that would feel more accurate than not, but still, yeah. And then saying basically that Christopher Nolan said that next year Black Panther will sweep the Oscars. And Disney is in fact making a push for that. They are rumored to have a full-fledged Black Panther Oscar campaign for next year. I don't see it personally, but okay. Now, it says here, another review, there is no preview of the film's good looks. The entire essence of the game was a small part of it. The story was simple and cliched. The latter part was boring and almost impossible to see. Now, that could also be in line with the darkness comment. That depends on the theater itself. Maybe there was a problem with the bulb. The climax of the movie takes place in a dark cave, where you have two guys that are dressed almost all in black, fighting in a dark cave. You can still see what's going on. But if a bulb is dimmed in the theater, or for example, they're watching this in 3D, which requires more a brighter bulb, and if the bulb starts to dim, it does make some stuff harder to see. That could be a factor. So I don't know, but that's also the essence of the game was a small part of it. Was there a game with Black Panther that I'm unaware of? Okay, so it says even if the screen with the highest brightness is selected, the movie still looks dark. Okay, so this is telling me that there are projection issues. But what this author here is trying to equate this to be is that the movie looks too dark, meaning too many black people. It's not. Look, I've worked in movie theaters for 14 years. I've worked on 35 millimeter projectors for a long time. Yeah, nah, it's a bulb issue. It's so that's what it boils down to. It's just a bulb issue, and bulbs suck. I mean, they're fun to break, but they suck overall. It goes, it feels really visual fatigue on Marvel, and the old-fashioned story of Prince's Revenge infuses the politically correct theme of black equality. There is, of course, a great ambition, but the limitations of creative vision are still obvious. The other is Disney's garbage transfer. 3D technology should really be used to criticize it. Night shows and blacks are all too special to see. Okay, so it is the 3D problems. So the 3D, because it requires so much light. That's the problem. The digital transfer of the 3D is where they're finding themselves having these problems. But that being said, the Prince's Revenge is not even necessarily the storyline of the movie, because he's not the prince. And even the bad guy getting revenge wasn't even really a prince at that point. He was, maybe, I don't know what his direct title would be, but I understand what he's saying. It wasn't necessarily the most politically correct movie out there. Wakanda was in fact an ethno-state. And that was the whole battle that T'Challa had with himself. It goes on to say here, Marvel's success lies in the fact that it will not be because the story is inferred and the drama sets the first half of the movie. It is stunning that the tribal culture world it created has a solemn and complete thickness that can stand the scrutiny, but the second half is too far away from the sky. After playing from South Korea, it became a lame Lion King to catch the circus. It was not at all fun to play. The extension did not delay disappointment. Male coach, but the performance needs to improve. And why do you think all blackheads are a bit longer? So basically, enjoyed the drama set up from the first half. Probably saying maybe if I'm going to put words in this person's mouth, there's a little bit on the Shakespearean side, that kind of power struggle, and a prince trying to find his place as king now. And then the last half of the movie was kind of like Simba versus Scar, which I get. So I see what they're trying to say here. Now, it does say there are some positive reviews as well, but a good number of them posted to the site were damn near racist. No, it's not necessarily racist. They're interpreting the word differently. And that's said, this author is trying to claim that they're racist. I'm not saying that all of them aren't. Like, there's probably a couple there that probably are. But based upon saying it's too dark to see, it's too black, it's too dark, that's more referring to the 3D technology in the bulb and the projector. If I had to bet money on this one, I'm going to tell you that's probably what it is. So China still has some work to do when it comes to race. Just recently, a Chinese actress donned blackface during the annual Lunar New Year TV gala. They also cast a black actor to play a monkey. So Bernard Bean Smalls here is taking things at a very literal, in a literal way that doesn't quite fit in when you know how movie theaters operate. But I don't blame him. If I'm being fair, I don't blame him at all. I kind of laugh at this thing because Black Panther is not being perceived as being racist. It's just the digital transfer of the 3D print is crap. And the technology, like the projectors there that people are seeing this in, are maybe not up to snuff in order to play them with a brighter bulb. And that's probably a big part of the problem, considering that the climax takes place in a cave. That being said, yeah, the people were kind of ragging on the movie, saying it was a little bit too slow and not action-packed enough. And if you look at what they usually get in terms of action, that does make a lot of sense. So again, this is not an issue of racism. This is just an issue of different cultures approaching a movie like this differently. But remember, when it comes to Black Panther, if you are negative or critical about it at all, there are people out there that will brand you a racist, very similar to when Ghostbusters 2016 came out. And if you dislike that movie for whatever reason, you are also a sexist. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you haven't already, thumbs it up, hit on that subscribe, check out 3 Buck Theater, check out Mundane Chats, or if you just want to help support the channel, the best way to do that is patreon.com/mundanematt, link below in the video description. Thank you guys again, have yourself a great day, and peace out.